Thank you, Pastor Owen. So, hi, my name's Chin. I know a lot of you guys know me. Some of you guys don't. My real name's Christian, not Chin. But I just wanted to talk about how God has moved in my life. And so, starting back to when I was a little kid, my parents and I, we went to church, but I never really knew the gospel. And so I always wanted to be a good person to get to heaven and perform the best I could. And it was always a performance for me. All growing up, I wore a mask and I tried to blend in and I tried to do everything I could to be the best version of myself that I could be. And it was really exhausting. All the way until I got to high school. I started dating a girl in high school, and her family was churchgoers. And so I started going to church mainly just because I wanted to be with this girl. And obviously, looking back, did not have the best interests at heart, but I saw a lot of hypocritical religion. I saw people that were raising their hand in worship, and then outside of the church, they were honking their horns at each other, yelling at each other, and I just turned away from the church. I was like, I'm not doing that anymore. And so when I got to college, I met one of my best friends, Abby, and she's here today. But she just showed me the love of Christ every day. She showed me the fruit of the Spirit. She showed me gentleness, kindness. She kind of planted a seed in my mind that Christians might be different than what I thought they were. And so I had hope again. College went on, I graduated, COVID happened, and I was just in a rut. And Abby invited me to go to church with her one day. And so we went to this place called H2, if you guys know of it. It was in Selinsgrove at the time, and there was a guy giving his testimony there. Just some random dude. He had long hair. No, he wasn't Matt. He didn't have. He had a beard like Matt, but his name was Billy, and he just talked about how God moved in his life, and I could not look away from this guy. The whole testimony, it was like I was locked into every word he was saying. And I whispered to Abby, I was like, I gotta go talk to that guy. And she was like, you should. And then I started walking back and I chickened out and I was like, all right, let's go. We're leaving. And as I was leaving the church, my mom texted me. And it was a text that said Beth had just passed away. And so Beth was one of our family friends' ex-wife. And so I didn't really know her super well, but she was always kind to me. And for whatever reason, I was breaking down. I was weeping, crying. I don't know if you guys saw me this morning, but I was weeping like that, just over this person's death, all the way home, really. And halfway home, I stopped crying and I listened to the radio. And I was listening to Eagle 103.7, which is like strictly classic rock. And I heard amen, amen, amen 3 times on the radio. And I knew God was speaking to me in that moment. And so I kept driving. The next song that came on was the only song that reminded me of Beth. And so I just started losing it again. I saw a turkey on the side of the road. I saw a deer pass my car. I felt like I was in a Disney movie. And it was the middle of winter, so this was random and weird. But when I got to the stop sign in front of my house, there was a ray of sunlight parting from the clouds, emanating right onto my house. I ran up to the door, gave my mom a big hug, and I said, I know for sure God is real. And so months went by, and we were still in our house, and my mom was like, hey, can you wake up early and clean your room? And I was like, yeah, sure. And I didn't do either of those things. And so I wake up late the next day, and I go down to the kitchen, and the people that are checking out our house are already in the house. And I look over, and it's the Billy guy. The Billy guy that was giving his testimony is standing in my kitchen. And I'm just like at a loss of words. I couldn't even speak. It took me 3 months to finally talk to him and be like, hey, like God was speaking to me that day you gave your testimony at H2. And he was like, that's awesome, man. Like God's pursuing you. But what are you doing about it now? And so I started thinking, and I was thinking really long and hard about that. And then I started dating an ex-girlfriend, and I totally forgot about God, and life just kept going and going to the point where I lost track of things again. and I was mentally unwell, and I was physically unwell, and everything was bad. And that went on for about 1.5 years, and we broke up and everything. And I had a dream one night, and this is what I was telling Owen. So in that dream, I was in a car with 3 of my friends from high school, and my friend was driving way too fast, one arm on the wheel, it was pouring rain, and he whips it around a corner, and the car just flies out of control. And we're headed right at a pine tree. And right before we hit that pine tree, I just closed my eyes and I said the word Jesus. And I don't know why I said Jesus, because like I said, God wasn't even a thought on my mind at that point in my life. I said Jesus, and I closed my eyes, and I was waiting for the crash to happen. And I finally opened my eyes, and I look at my hands and at my feet, and I realized all 3 of my friends and I were standing, and we're alive. And I look over at the car, and the car is crushed to a little cube. Like there's no way we survived that crash. And so I blink my eyes, and suddenly I'm awake, and I'm in this heavenly sunroom, like the most beautiful room you've ever seen. And there was a guy standing there. He had long brown hair, he had light emanating from his face, and he had a white robe on, and I knew in my heart it was Jesus. And so he just turns on the TV, because there was a TV in this room. And it's news footage of the crash, and it says, Christian Wirt reportedly dead at the scene, 23 years old. I was watching my death with Jesus. And I just looked at him and I said, God, why me? Why did you let this happen to me? Like, I was a good kid. And he just looked at me and he said, because you were in the car, because you were there with them. And I could not handle that, so I kept weeping and crying at his feet and begging him just to get one more shot at life, because I knew I had to change something. And after begging and begging and begging, I blink again, and like the snap of my fingers, I'm in my bed, and I'm awake, and it's real life. And so 6 months went by. It took me 6 months. Why? I don't know. But I texted Abby and I said, I'm coming to Crossroads today. And she said, dang, I'm not going to be there today. That's crazy. And I'm like, it didn't matter, because like I was just so focused on going for God. I wanted to learn who God was. I wanted to get in the Word. And again, I was like in a trance that whole sermon. I left. I got invited to men's group, started going to men's group. I started feeling peace in this church. And for a while, I convinced myself that it was just because we were in these comfy 4 walls and there's nice people everywhere and they give you comfort food. But that peace started following me home. And it started following me when I would read my Bible. I asked Abby for a Bible and she gave me one of her old Bibles. It was like waterproof, but it doesn't matter. And I just started feeling peace that transcends all understanding. And so I gave my life to Jesus, I got baptized, I lost my job, all sorts of stuff happened. I'll talk to you later about that, but I'm just so thankful for Jesus, and I'm thankful for everything he's done in my life, and I'm thankful that you guys are listening to me now. So thank Jesus, you know.